Some pesticides, which pose breathing hazards, require use of respirators when mixing loading, during application, or when cleaning equipment after application. Repeated, unprotected exposure to these materials can weaken or damage otherwise healthy lungs. This can result in the loss of energy, shortness of breath, a persistent cough, or tightness in the chest. This video addresses how to properly use a respirator when required with some types of pesticide applications. I will cover the requirements for using respirators when pesticide applications require their use, the types of respirators used for pesticide applications, how to conduct a seal test, and how to maintain and store your respirator. Pesticides that require respirators include some insecticides, fungicides, herbicides, and even some organically approved pesticides. But keep in mind that many pesticide products do not require the use of respirators. While this video focuses on respirators, it's a requirement to use all personal protective equipment, or PPE, listed on the pesticide label. In order to determine if a pesticide requires the use of a respirator and during which operations, you must read the Personal Protective Equipment, or PPE, section of the pesticide label you plan on using. This is near the beginning of the label in the precautionary statements section. If there's no mention of a respirator, then none is required. If a respirator is required, you need to select the correct type of respirator. Pesticide labels specify the types of respirators using NIOSH TC designations. Some pesticides only require respirators for some mixing and loading or application activities. With this label, pesticides are required for all pesticide handling activities. It's important to match the correct type of respirator with the pesticide you'll be using, as different respirators protect against different types of products. A common category of respirator is the TC84A, as with this example. This is a particulate filter. These filters are often rated as N, R, or P, referring to their resistance to oil. N is not resistant, R is resistant, and P is highly resistant to oils. The numbers 95, 99, or 100 refer to the percentage of airborne particulates they remove. For example, the respirator on the right is an N95. It removes 95% of the particles, but is not resistant to oils. A TC23C is designed to remove organic vapor contaminants from the air, but you must be sure to use the correct type of cartridge for organic vapors. Some labels will also require a particulate pre-filter when using this type of respirator. These are attached on top of the cartridges. The respirator on the left is an example of this. No one type of filter protects against all types of pesticide contaminants. You should make a list of the pesticide products you'll be using and check for their respirator requirements. Check each label for its PPE requirements. Before anyone can use a respirator, they must have a medical evaluation by a licensed healthcare professional. This is to make sure they can use a respirator while working without putting their health at risk. This must be done before a fit test is conducted and is at no cost to employees. The licensed healthcare provider will provide a written medical determination, and this record must be kept for at least 2 years for each employee. Persons using tight-fitting type respirators must have an annual fit test for each model of respirator they will be using. While powered air purifying respirators do not require an annual fit test, non-powered air purifying respirators require an annual fit test. These respirators must have a tight seal around the face to prevent leaks. Human faces vary in shape and size, and so do models and sizes of respirators. Fit tests ensure that the mask does not leak air when in use. Generally, tight-fitting respirators will work only on clean-shaven faces. Applicators wanting to keep beards and other facial hair should use powered air purifying respirators where a tight seal is not as important. All fit tests must conform to OSHA-approved standards and must be conducted annually. As people age, lose or gain weight, their faces change in shape, so the sizes and models of respirators that fit their face may change. A written record of the fit test must be kept for at least 2 years and is required to include name of the applicator tested, the type of fit test performed, make, model, and size of respirator approved for the applicator, date of the fit test, and the results of the fit test. Each time a tight-fitting respirator is used, a seal check is done to ensure it is in place correctly. This can be done by blocking the exhalation valve with your hand and breathing out gently, or by covering the inlet openings with the palms of your hand and inhaling gently. If you feel air leaking with either test, reposition the respirator and repeat the steps until you have an effective seal. Remember that facial hair may interfere with the seal and is not permitted with tight-fitting respirators. Remember, a seal check is not the same as a fit test. Fit tests are performed annually. A seal check is done every time you use a tight-fitting respirator. Employers are responsible to train their employees on the proper use and care of their respirators. This is done annually and should include explaining when and why respirators are needed, how to select, install, and when to change cartridges, how to put on, check the seal, and remove respirators, how to recognize what to do if a respirator fails, how to inspect, maintain, and store respirators, and how to recognize medical symptoms that may limit the ability to use a respirator while you are working. Employers must keep records of respirator training for at least 2 years. This should include name of the trainer, name of the trainees, date of the training, and the topics covered during the training. Reusable respirators must be cleaned after each use. Carefully follow the manufacturer's cleaning instructions. Respirators shared by coworkers must be cleaned and disinfected before they can be shared. It's important to thoroughly air dry respirators to prevent mold development before storing them in plastic bags. Respirators should be stored in a clean, dry place away from sunlight and extreme temperatures. Respirators have a working lifespan that can vary with the environment they're used in. In general, particulate filtering respirators must be replaced when resistance to breathing becomes excessive, when the filtering elements are damaged or torn, according to the manufacturer's instructions, according to pesticide labeling, or at the end of 8 hours of cumulative use. With respirators that remove gas or organic vapors, the cartridges must be replaced at the first indication of taste, odor, or irritation, when resistance to breathing becomes excessive, according to the manufacturer's instructions, according to pesticide labeling, or at the end of 8 hours of cumulative use. For more information on respirator reuse, I would recommend you get a copy of the Worker Protection Standard Respiratory Protection Guide available through PERC, the Pesticide Education Resources Collaborative.